It has been nearly 9 years since the release of Hollow Knight, and in just a few days from now, we are going to get the chance to play its sequel, Hollow Knight Silksong. Many people have been excited for this game for a long time, with practically any Nintendo Direct people asking about Hollow Knight Silksong. Even the PlayStation presentations, the Xbox Directs, there's always somebody in a comment section somewhere asking for Hollow Knight Silksong. Now, many people are excited, but I, for one, I'm just not feeling it. I think just there are too many red flags that are coming our way that have been prevalent not only within the AAA industry, but also just within Hollow Knight and Team Cherry itself. So let's get into it. Point number one, Hollow Knight itself is an okay game. Yep, go ahead and flag me, go ahead and dislike this video. I did not in particular enjoy Hollow Knight, and if it had cost any more than $20, I would just completely discourage it entirely. I've been playing through it recently and just recognizing it plays so much more like a Souls game than it does a Metroidvania. It reminds me so much of just the aspect of how a franchise talks like it's something else, but it behaves like something else entirely. Such as God of War Ragnarok, although it had God of War on the title, and it starred Kratos, and it featured you going up against gods. God of War Ragnarok felt much more like an Avengers movie, like an MCU movie, than it did a God of War game. And so that's that kind of juxtaposition that we've got going on here where, oh yeah, Hollow Knight is a Metroidvania, but in reality, it plays more like a 2D Souls-like. I am getting really tired of this very basic weak nail attack and just wishing there was more to it. I know that later on you unlock charms or whatever they're called to increase the length of your nail, but in order to increase the length of your nail you have to sacrifice a different utility item. And I know you can upgrade the amount of notches you can carry, but right now I'm just so attached to having a compass because I want to get attached to this world and familiar with it. So even if I did find a long nail, it just gets in the way and makes you wonder, is it even worth it? Another aspect of this combat that I really don't enjoy is every time you strike an enemy, it physically pushes your character away from them. And I get it that there's one point in the game where you're bouncing around on purple mushrooms, you aim down and slash, it helps you jump, but it almost feels like that little gameplay mechanic of bouncing on the purple mushrooms got worked too hard into the rest of the game. Because now when I'm trying to slash at an enemy on a platform, I end up just pushing myself backwards off of it, often falling into some kind of a pit. So it just feels like bad gameplay design in that aspect where it's almost discouraging you from attacking enemies, whether to just get them out of your way to protect yourself or to gather their geo. It's saying, hey, when you strike someone, you run at a risk of hurting yourself. Another part mentioning geo is you lose all of it when you die, and your ghost carries it around. Just the other day I was playing, I had over 800 geo in my pocket, saving up for the lamp, and I died. It's like, okay, let's go find my ghost, and then just continual cheap shots from the enemy, or me falling off of a badly placed platform, and I end up losing all of that geo, and that didn't make me want to continue playing the game to grind and get that geo back to try again. It made me want to quit. It made me think, why am I even doing this? At that point, it's like this game feels more like a chore than fun, and I'm still waiting for that point. When does the game become fun? Because so many games these days start off with very tried and true formulas where they feel samey. And so I'm waiting, at so many games, they start off with the most basic techniques of your jump, your slash, your talk to people, maybe do some wall jumps, maybe have your secondary attacks, but eventually a game has to have its own unique hook to get you to stay in. It's like, this is why on all these games that play like this is why you need to stick around and play this, and I am not hitting that with Hollow Knight. The second point of why I'm concerned about this game is that it started off. Why I'm concerned, about Hollow Knight Silksong is that this game started off as DLC. And lately we've been seeing a trend with that in the AAA industry, where DLC ends up becoming a sequel, and it just ends up becoming a recycled version of the old game. Breath of the Wild gave us a fresh new take on Hyrule. Even though we knew Death Mountain was in the distance with the lava on it, we'd never been to that version of Death Mountain, so we were excited to eventually get over there. We had already been to, in previous games, the Gerudo Desert, but this was a different take on the Gerudo Desert. We were excited to get over there. But you get to Tears of the Kingdom, which Nintendo started off as DLC, and you just end up getting the same recycled overworld that you've already been to. Things have changed slightly. Death Mountain has gone dormant to a degree, not nearly as much lava. You also have Gerudo Desert, which has all of the Gibdo attacking it. And then you have the Hebra Mountains with the Rito, which they're getting hit by a snowstorm. But it's just not enough of a difference to make you excited to be there. I get it that Tears of the Kingdom also added entirely new areas, but that doesn't make up for how boring the exploration was. You go to the depths, and it's just the surface inverted. So you already have an idea of what everything is going to look like. You're going to know where the hills are, you're going to know where the walls are, you're going to know where the pits are, all just by looking at the surface. And really, the most challenging part and exciting part is finding new holes to get you down into the depths. But once you get down there, you find your first mine, you find your first boss battle, and you find your first statue. That's basically it. Once you've explored 10% of the depths, you've explored all of it. And I get it that Tears of the Kingdom also hands you new abilities compared to Breath of the Wild, but it doesn't make up for the fact that you've already been to this place. Hollow Knight Silksong, I'm concerned that they're just going to give you the exact same map to play on as before, but this time you play as a different character with new abilities. Well, another example why that doesn't work so well is God of War Ragnarok. I mentioned it before. They recycled most of Midgard. I know that it's covered in snow now, but so much of it plays the exact same. In fact, instead of getting around on your boat, you get around with a pair of dogs and a sled. No, that's great. I love your wolves. They're cool. They're awesome. They're cute. But it's frustrating just playing through the same game again. But at $70. So I'll give Team Cherry credit where it's due. With what I've seen is that Hollow Knight Silksong is going to be $20, which is admirable on its own, given that they have spent almost 9 years on this game, given that they have the opportunity, knowing that millions of people are going to buy this game on launch. They could have easily made the price $70, knowing that they are going to make so much money on day one. Gosh, I can imagine it's going to be over 1 million people buy this game week one, but they're going to go for 20 million instead of 80 million, and I respect that. I mean, 70 million. I take that back. 70 million, and I respect that. Heck, even 80 million, actually, with Nintendo using Mario Kart World. Open world Mario Kart. See, a lot of people lost interest in Mario Kart when they heard it was $80. I lost interest the moment I heard it was open world. I am so worn out on this franchise, this genre. Granted, Hollow Knight isn't open world. It's a Souls-like that plays somewhat like a Metroidvania. But I'm getting back to my point is that it's recycled content. But I respect the hustle that it's just $20. And I really hope that the rest of the industry follows that part of Hollow Knight, where we know we have a game that's going to sell really well, so let's make it a very fair price. I think Team Cherry is still just a very small team of probably 3 guys. I really respect that kind of work, especially the artistic direction. Everything is hand-drawn. But I'm really hoping that the gameplay is improved, because Hollow Knight is punishing in the way that it's not fun. It's challenging in the way it makes you want to quit, where the rewards just come across as shallow, and it just makes you want to not keep going. Think of it like anyone trying out for the military, going into special forces programs. The trainers there, the instructors, they're trying to get you to quit because they really want to see how bad you want to be part of those special forces teams. But you know that there is a grand award at the other side, not just the companionship you make with the other guys in your training, but also just the kind of respect and benefits you get for being in that position, and the fun things that come in the future, all the cool things that you get to do, whether you see combat or not. Hollow Knight just doesn't have that kind of reward on the side outside of finishing the game, because you're continually punished with almost no break to it. Like, really, I think one aspect with the first Hollow Knight that I would love to see tweaked is where you lose maybe only half of your geo per death and not the whole thing. Because that was that point. When I lost 800 geo, I thought, I don't want to play this game anymore. And I don't know how I'm going to feel about its sequel. A third reason why I'm not excited for this game is that it's being held back by Nintendo hardware. Not only is it coming out on the Switch 2, but also the Switch 1. Technology that was outdated when it came out in 2017, okay? This is essentially an Xbox 360 in handheld mode. So we're talking 2005 technology that's being used 20 years later. I am begging developers to ditch the Nintendo Switch. The Switch 2 is already inferior enough, alright? That's like a portable PS4. And even the PS4 could barely handle some games at 30 frames per second. So please, devs, just get rid of the Nintendo Switch 1. It has been 8 years since that came out. It is long overdue for us to just get rid of it. Stop bottlenecking your games to such bad hardware. Like, I get it. Nintendo put out some pretty great games for the time on it. But even 2 years ago with Tears of the Kingdom, we saw how much that game was held back by such bad hardware.
Alright, you're right. It might be a little bit laggy.
The more that I play Hollow Knight, the less I enjoy it, and the more I want to play a different game, like Super Metroid, or Metroid Prime, or Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Basically, any other Metroidvania, because they get you hooked nice and quick by some way or another. So I'm going to keep playing this game for a little bit longer, probably up until the launch of Silksong, but as of right now, I have no interest in Silksong. And after this, I'm probably just going to play one of those games I mentioned beforehand to really remind myself how Metroidvanias are supposed to play. Well, guys, this is Don't Touch the Boat. Checking out. You have a good day.